Marhaba and welcome to the Habibis podcast. Three game developers drinking good Arab tea. I'm your host, Fawzi Masmar.
And I'm Aram Ismail.
وأنا أسامة دوريس.
Actually, I lied. We are four game developers.
Today we are.
Today we are. And I'm not sure what kind of beverage we're drinking, but today I have a very special guest to introduce to you. It's my very own brother from the same mother, Firas. Hello, Firas.
Hello, everyone. And yeah, my beverage is coffee at the moment.
Coffee. I know where you're based, but if you're in Europe, that's a pretty late coffee.
It's in Sweden. They just drink coffee all the time.
It's also daytime all the time, so I guess that makes sense.
Exactly. The sun doesn't set, the coffee doesn't stop.
I feel like this is a problem, but I'm not going to dig into it. Did you all see in the Discord? I don't know if you saw this in the Discord the other day, but did you see this really fancy kushari?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I think
it was from yesterday.
Fanciest kushari. Just disgustingly fancy. You look at it and you're like, this is one, it's like gourmet, like it's like high quality 3 Michelin star kushari.
I like how your brain went to gourmet kushari. For me, it went to sushi train kushari because I was just
right. So this is like, but the way it looks, it's prepared too fancy.
Yeah, it's unrecognizable until someone tells you it's kushari, and then you're like, yes, it is. Like you look at all the ingredients and it's there. Right. But if you had asked me to guess, I would not have guessed what it was.
Right.
This is a place in Sweden, and for us, maybe we need to hit it up and get some fancy kushari.
It really made me want to make fancy kushari, is what I'm saying. Like I want to try and make that because it looks beautiful. Maybe you can convince some like non-Arabs to give it a go, because they look at kushari and they're like, this is carbs and carbs and carbs and carbs and carbs. This is not a meal. Maybe when you make it fancy, they'll go like, oh, distinguished,
Well, I was chatting with some friends the other day. They're from India, and they were talking about how like a street food equivalent of a burger there is made out of a potato. Like it's a potato patty inside of a bun. So it's a carbs on carbs, okay. And they were like, "I'll take that over a beef burger any day of the week." Like because it's this potato thing is mixed with like some special types of herbs and stuff, and they were like, "It's wonderful."
Yeah, wow.
And I would like to try that. I've had the eggs and potato that they have in Spain. What do you call it? The tortilla.
Yeah.
They put that inside of a sandwich. They call it a bocadillo. So it's basically eggs and potato in a sandwich.
That sounds delicious to me.
That's wonderful.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to derail everything. Feroz, thank you so much for being here. You should know
better than to start the food conversation of this podcast.
Right, yeah, my bad. Okay, Feroz, did you play any games? Did you watch any movies? Let me kick it back to where we were supposed to go.
Sweet. So yeah, I haven't been playing any food-related games. So recently, I've actually discovered For Honor. It's on the Game Pass. So and actually, like the Game Pass, is really awesome because you I don't need to talk about.
Let me
we're basically sponsored by the Game Pass.
We should be. Before we continue this conversation, did you like For Honor?
Yeah, so I was pleasantly surprised.
Osama, you can breathe easily.
Because I worked on For Honor, right? You mentioned it and I tensed up.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm happy. I liked it, actually. This will make this conversation way easier. I'm not going to mention any of the bits that I did not like, such as... actually, never mind. It's because in a game like that, it's actually very hard to know which person worked on which parts and all that sort of stuff. So I'll chat with you offline about this, Osama. But yeah,
Osama made all the parts you liked. So
all the parts you liked, exactly. Anything you didn't like wasn't me.
It's all the economy and the progression. Then most probably that's what you usually look at. No, but I was actually I came into this game expecting something close to Chivalry, something kind of like. Yeah. Like a melee multiplayer game closer to, maybe Battlefield or even like Call of Duty than what I expected. It's actually more like a fighting game. and I've been
Exactly.
enjoying it so much. It has all the pluses and the negatives of a fighting game as well. Like there's so many characters you need to learn, so many combat stances, and at the same time, there's the same rage you get whenever you lose. Like usually, I'm a very I'm a very chill person, but like it's MOBAs. Fighting games and sometimes Fawzi are the three things that make me get angry sometimes.
Guilty as charged.
But I've been enjoying like the depth of it, the different kind of characters you have. It made me realize a bit, a couple of things about, for example, like Julius Caesar. Most probably he was like a very chill guy, because if I get stabbed by a lot of people, I get like way more angrier in the game than he was in the play. But just like the level of depth of the combat, the different game modes, I don't know. I can't let go of it. I thought I'm just gonna play like a couple of sessions, but now I'm playing almost every night with my friend. And
You're making me very happy. You're just like saying everything right to be a return guest. I'm just letting you know. Right
yeah, I'm totally not venting stuff out on the side of the chat. No, but like great job, Osama, and the team on this game. It's super unique as well. I really like it when games on this scale actually try new stuff that like I actually feel like I'm playing something new when I'm playing it, and this doesn't happen so often on projects on this scale. So yeah, kudos to you guys and everyone who worked on it. It's brilliant.
Thank you. On behalf of the team, thank you.
Yeah.
Someone just accepted an award, it sounds. On behalf of the team back home, thank you. Guys, this is for you.
Yeah, on the other end of, I've been trying to fill a hole, basically a gap of games that I haven't played because I was playing Dota 2, which ranges for, I think, like 5 or 7 years. So,
it's a common things that happen for people that play Dota. Like Dota players, you ask them, hey, do you play games? Like, other games? What other games? I only play Dota. Other games came out in the past 10 years we didn't hear about.
Exactly, like people use Dota as an example for the 10,000 hour rules, where like if you play 10,000 hours of something, you're usually a master, and that game usually breaks that, because if you play 10,000 hours, you're just about average now.
You're now average. Exactly. Man, there was this statistic once that I saw, like when Overwatch came out, in which like when Overwatch came out, all the other games affected, like number of concurrent users were affected on Steam, and like the numbers kind of dropped because people wanted to check Overwatch out, with the exception of Dota. The Dota were like, no game came out. We're just doing our thing.
Nothing impacts it, even sporting events or whatever. Yeah, but as a result of playing Dota back in the days, I haven't played Mass Effect. So I got the Legendary Edition. It's a good time to play the remaster. I'm playing the first one, which everyone is telling me to just power through it to some degree.
Yeah.
The combat leaves something to,
Right. I think I don't even think you necessarily need to skip it. It's just it feels out of place in the trilogy, because 2 and 3 are way more of a cover shooter kind of game.
Yep.
And one is Dragon Age if you replace all the swords with long distance weapons.
Yeah.
Right. So in a way, it's just a very different game, and I think a lot of people sort of bounce off of the RPG-ness of it.
Yeah, you could really feel the 3Cs get better from game to game. Like in the third one, I forgot completely, but I just started playing it. And the third one, there's no stamina. You could run forever. And I'm like, yes, I wish that was the case in the first one. Like little things like that where they're just, or the way that...
Shepard was just gaining endurance, like at the start of it's just a storytelling thing. At the start of the thing, he's a super soldier that can run for 4.5 meters. And then he's tired. That's how super soldiers do.
Of course.
Anyway, how are you enjoying it?
I'm focusing on the narrative and like the character building. I'm getting like really into the codex and that sort of stuff. So I'm really enjoying that.
There's a lot of that.
I think my shepherd is a bit of a psychopath. I think like it's very unpredictable. That's like notice that I'm mentioning it's my shepherd. It's not me making all these weird decisions, because it's like super calm. Then I make like these very rash decisions. But I'm enjoying it so far. And again, like I think even when the combat gets a bit weird, I'm just focusing on I really want to get to Mass Effect 2, because I hear that's basically the masterpiece in the trilogy. So, but it's so far it's good.
Nice. Glad to hear. Osama, weren't you playing Mass Effect as well?
I actually just beat Mass Effect 2 with all the DLCs and everything. I really love it. I couldn't, like I told you before, I've mentioned it a few times, but I couldn't really, like, the whole memory of Mass Effect 1, 2, 3 was kind of fuzzy in my mind. In my memory, I had merged the, how do I mention the missions without spoiling it for Firas? So there were 2 missions that were kind of similar. One of them was the last mission. I merged them in my mind, and I thought they were the same mission, and I couldn't remember what the last mission was. So when that first mission happened, I'm like, hey, where were my choices? There's supposed to be choices in this mission. And when I got to the last one and I had them, it felt a lot more impactful. The game had structure. I loved it. It felt like a heist game. You know what I mean? Like that whole build your team, they each have their specialty, and then go and do the thing that, like, and you get to, if you were paying attention, you get to decide who goes and does what. That felt so good at the last mission. That was so good. It was so well structured. I really enjoyed the game. It was
so much build up for that last mission, and then like the execution doesn't fail.
Exactly.
It delivers on like everything on it. It's so good.
It's so good. It's so good. And then I went and I finished like some of the DLC in Mass Effect 2 just to wrap it up. And then
you got to play Arrival then, the Arrival DLC. Oh, I love the Arrival DLC.
Yes,
it was also the first time I got to play that. But like that is like, that's a different ending to Mass Effect 2 that really, like, it felt like it fit. Right. I loved it. I love that so much.
Yeah, it's hard to say anything about it.
You can't talk about it, but I feel it was a better ending to ME2 than the original ending of ME2.
I agree. And apparently I'm in for that in Mass Effect 3 as well. A better ending than the original ending. Except I kind of played something out of sequence, and I'm questioning whether I'm going to restart Mass Effect 3 completely with my same file again or not.
Well, okay, but let's be honest. When you say out of sequence, from what I understand, you started with the ending DLC of Mass Effect 3.
Not exactly. I did do a few things first. I did... So I did collect a few people. Like I played it for a good 6-7 hours, and I did a few missions at the beginning before going into that DLC, which I thought was not a DLC at first. If I'm perfectly honest, it was just an email that I got, and I looked at the email and it said, "Hey, you should go do this." And I'm like, I'm already. I was at the Citadel. I was already at the Citadel, and I saw the icon, and I didn't question it. And I'm like, okay, I'll just click this. I didn't know it was engaging in a DLC until it started, and then it instantly felt like one. And I'm like, I guess this is DLC content. Let's play this out. And okay, so this is not exactly a spoiler, because if I don't tell you what DLC it is, you won't really know. And if you haven't played the game, it doesn't really matter. But this DLC is basically, okay, the way it starts is like, okay, maybe you should get some rest. You're probably tired.
Right.
And I'm like, that's odd. There's an impending, huge thing happening. Why are they telling me to take some rest? Oh, this must be something that's DLC. That's the train of thought that I had. But I'm like, whatever, might as well go through it. But it doesn't let you, like other missions, it doesn't let you just leave halfway through.
Right.
You have to go through the entire thing.
Yeah. So this is the Citadel DLC is what it's called. And it's really meant to be played right before the ending missions of Mass Effect 3. So, go back. I think anybody that has played that DLC and that knows what it does and that knows what it stands for will tell you, even if you have to restart the entire game, you should do that.
Wow.
Because it's really, really much more powerful when you play it at the right moment.
Okay.
Just next time you start on a Mass Effect 3, let me tell you, just ping me and I'll tell you which ones to play when.
Yeah, I should, but I really thought I was just playing normally. I didn't I looked. I didn't realize I was engaging in DLC. That's the honest truth. It was kind of incognito. I feel, and this is a little bit of sass that I'm throwing at the developer, so I apologize in advance for this. But I feel it should have been labeled better, or it could have been introduced.
Right.
And I understand that that's really difficult to do with DLC, because when someone buys DLC content, they expect to have access to it right away. Like, you don't know what
we
kind of
discussed this
circumstances.
last time. or two
Yeah,
times ago.
but
Or
in
4
this
times ago.
specific case, really, it should have been labeled. There should have been
Honestly,
recommended, do this after or something.
most DLCs have a specific moment when you should play them. Like most of them have just like a spot in the story. And there's
I'm
a
all
few
for
that you can
giving
kind of
people a
play.
choice. Like, you don't know
Right.
if people like have played it before, lost their save file, bought the DLC, and just want to play the DLC. Fine, I get it, but like, give them the choice, but also give them the information necessary to make the decision. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm a little upset. I apologize. I don't,
No,
I
it's
don't want to
okay.
waste like 10 hours of gameplay.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that as soon as the game told you to take a nap, you realize it's a DLC. Is that how like every DLC starts with a nap in the Mass Effect?
It's
Right. It's just very
not a nap.
important.
It's like a break. It's like, you've been fighting a long war. You need some like rest. That's what it was. So it's like, how about like we're gonna fix up your ship and you go like relax for a bit. That's why you can't leave, because your ship is being repaired.
Okay, that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
This is meant to be the like get ready, rest one more time before you go into like the final sequences of the game.
Yes,
That's where it's meant to be. Let's make sure your ship is okay. Let's make sure you're okay. Let's make sure your crew is okay before you all go and do the thing.
Yeah, and if
Osama went like, I woke up. Let me take a break.
yeah, pretty much. It's anyway. I should have read about it beforehand. It's kind of on me, but it's also on the devs.
I will get you the list. Okay.
Yeah.
So, did you play something else?
Yes, I did. I played this excellent game. It took me completely by surprise. It's called Wildermyth. So Wildermyth just came out June 15th, so a couple of weeks ago. By the time this airs, a little bit more than that, on Steam. And it was recommended randomly by someone I had just met in like a networking thing. He's like, hey, maybe you'll try this. And usually, like, if you don't know people, recommendations, you don't know if you have similar taste or not. But the way he was describing it was like too good to be true. He said it's the only game he's ever played that felt like a D&D campaign, like in the storytelling. I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued. That really sounds like something that's like my cup of tea. So the way it works is that you can start at the beginning, you can create a character or randomly generate a few characters. It's a tactical strategy game, but very, very light on the combat. That's not the core of it. It's mostly a procedurally generated narrative game. It's told in comic book panels, and your characters develop through that. The thing is, like, the choices that you have really change the trajectory of the story in a very in a very powerful way. It really feels like storytelling. Like there's huge decisions that you can make, and they have rippling impact. And one of the reasons they do this is because they're able to do this is because the art, they keep it simple. It's beautiful. It's good looking, but they keep it simple. So they're able to tell these huge stories with just a comic book panel of a couple of overlaid images, right? So you get the imagery of video games without the need to generate millions of assets to be able to tell the stories in all these different directions. So I'm sorry if that's the game designer or like / production pitch, because there's magic there. Like, I'm making it sound like, hey, this is how they did it, because I can't help it. We're all game devs here, right? We look at a game and we're like, how did they manage to do this? But there's magic there. Like, the story felt like you generate the personalities of the characters, and the choices are based on that. I didn't finish a first run, but I started a second run just to see how different the game is. I played each run for about 2-3 hours just to see how different. And it's really different. The levels are different. The different interactions that you face are different. The different events could lead to your characters forming relationships or dying early, or etc. One of the other interesting things that I saw by creating a second campaign is that they have different campaigns like D&D. So you have different starting points, and the stories can end in different ways. And the characters, you have a choice to like import characters from one campaign to a next. So you could actually like have a huge story campaign and then take those same characters and pull them into another campaign, I assume, because I didn't finish the game, but I saw that choice of importing a character. So, and this is the shocking part, you can play a 5 players multiplayer. So you can actually have like a D&D campaign with your friends where the D&D part feels like it's being taken care of by the computer, and you're just making choices and playing this tactical RPG, like 3/4 camera view RPG. I loved it. The only thing I could say is that the combat, other than the mage class, was very, very simple. It's like move here, hit this person. There's not that many.
Right.
A few actions like push a table on them or something like that. But the mage one is actually very interesting, where you get to like imbue your essence into different objects in the environment and either make them explode or do different interactions with them. So that one was pretty cool. But otherwise, you have warrior and you have like ranger. Like I don't remember if that's the actual class, but like those are the roles that you have. So the combat's a little bit light, but really, if you're playing this for the combat, you're doing it wrong. You really should be playing it for the storytelling, because that's where it really, really shines. So the game is Wildermyth. In case you missed the name, highly recommend it. I can't wait to play it with people.
It sounds good. Is it
like
like
a lot of fun, actually?
Yeah.
Is it like is it? Can we easily like? Can I get that game now and play it with you?
Yeah. It's on Steam. You can buy it off Steam. It's on like. This I don't know if the summer sale is going to still be up by the time the podcast airs. It's usually a week and a half, I guess, so it might be.
Right.
But I got it with a 20% discount.
I mean, basically, I just really need a video game, because I thought this week would be Mario Golf Super Rush week, and it's not very good.
No,
no, it's not very good. I mean, it's a good multiplayer game, okay? Like when it's new. It's Nintendo's new sports game, and it's golf. And Mario Golf has a pretty good like pedigree, right? Like it's a series with a good history.
I've never played a Mario Golf. I really should have.
Right, and the Mario sports games are pretty good generally. Like Mario Tennis Aces was probably one of my favorite games in the year it came out. Mario Golf it's a pretty fun version of golf. Like Mario style, you can do like ridiculous curveballs. You can like do really strong spin. You can curve a ball around a tree and then back straight again. You can do super super shots where you smash through stones, or you get a magic star, or you turn the balls of other players into like unpredictable spiky things, or and then you run between the balls. So when you hit the ball, you grab all your clubs and you start running, and you can like bump into each other, or you can like use abilities against each other. And in that part, it's pretty fun. There's 3 different types of golf. There's standard golf, and then there's speed golf, and then there's battle golf. And battle golf is kind of like in Mario Kart, if you remember the battle mode arena. It's a little bit like that, right? So there's different holes, and whoever gets 3 holes first wins. And like as I explained it, you kind of feel there's just not that much. There's the different characters, and it's golf. And when you're playing with friends, the chaos is really fun, because you can sort of like hit each other. You can hit each other's ball with your special powers, and it turns into this chaotic madness. There's this adventure mode that's kind of meant as your tutorial, right? As your introduction to the game. And it's kind of structured like an RPG. You go to places, you grab a quest, you solve the quest by playing golf, right? It's kind of miserable. Like honestly, it's miserable. Like you're walking because it's golf, right? Like it's not an RPG quest. Golf is the kind of game where your big challenge is to be better than yourself, or better than whoever you're playing against, right? Mm-hmm. Which means that in golf you can be playing and you can go 9 holes, and 8 holes you're -4, right? You're under par, and you're like super great score. And on the 9th hole, you accidentally hit it, and it like falls off the cliff, and now you have to get back off the cliff, and you end up at like +12, right? Mm-hmm. Which for the round itself, it's not fun. It's unfortunate, but if that was it, okay. But if you then have to go back and redo the quest and do everything again to get to that same point, it's a little bit too much loss of time. It's like having to restart Mass Effect 2 after you've done like the first 6 hours of gameplay. It's just not fun. So it's a lot of that. It's a lot of just sort of like tired, have to go back, do it again. I wish I had nicer things to say about this game. It's pretty. It's Nintendo pretty, but even that feels a little like I don't know. Maybe COVID got in their way. I don't know what happened here. It's just.
Did you play it multiplayer or just single player?
Yeah, no, I played in multiplayer as well, and in multiplayer it's definitely better, but it's not a it's not a solid enough foundation for a multiplayer game. There's not enough to do. There's like 6 courses, 2 battle maps, and 2 modes, and then like all the different Nintendo characters, but they mostly kind of play similar. Like I played one game of every mode, multiplayer, and after each game, I went, yeah, that was pretty fun. And then when I want to play more Mario Tennis.
Right.
Right.
So the game wasn't built even for multiplayer. Like I thought maybe their focus was on multiplayer, and this is why the campaign kind of didn't do so
Right.
well. But it doesn't seem like that, is it?
No, it seems like they just didn't have enough time to actually make the game, which sounds a lot more reasonable, right? Like COVID, like all that. Like maybe that was just the problem. The honest truth is, it feels like an almost game. And it's a little sad to see that come out of Nintendo, right? Because you kind of expect we'll never release it almost right. I guess there was no option, or it just didn't fit otherwise. It's impressively done. What is there? The game mechanics are really fun. They play off each other really well. The core is really good. It just never goes anywhere. And they did this thing which I absolutely hate, which is that you unlock multiplayer content by playing the campaign. Which is horrifying because the campaign is terrible. So, yeah, I try not to talk too much about games I don't like, but Mario Golf is so close to good that it's extra frustrating. It's
I really don't like it when games force you to play single player to unlock multiplayer content or vice versa. Like there's very different player motivations here. There's no reason to force the players into both of them. I feel it's a very weird design choice. Unless they, as you said, they wanted the game to feel more like a complete package due to a short of time.
Right.
But I think I'm not sure if that's a very great decision for the game.
Right. And then the campaign mode, even though there's a lot of content in terms of places you go to like 6 different biomes with all these different holes, but the holes were clearly there already because they're also a multiplayer. I feel like it might be possible that they had the multiplayer mode, realized that wasn't enough content, decided to add the campaign mode, and then to make sure the campaign mode gets played, lock multiplayer to it. It doesn't feel like this was an original thing because the campaign mode is just very bare bones. There's characters, they stand still, they barely move. They have 1 sentence of text, that kind of thing.
It's so unlike Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo takes the time it needs.
Right. It felt off. It doesn't feel super joyful. The golf itself, when it's good, it feels great. But there's no good reason to play the golf. Anyway, I want to stop talking bad about a game. I don't like talking bad about games. Somebody pick this up from me. Fawzi.
Let me talk good about a game.
Yes, thank you.
I played a bunch of Knockout City.
Oh,
have you guys heard about this game before?
Yeah.
I downloaded it. I can't wait to play it.
Yeah, we should play it together actually because when I'm playing it in a random squad, it's fun. But like synchronizing with friends over this, I think it would be a lot of fun.
Let's set it up.
Yeah, but I would like us. Like I have the 4 because we can play up to 4 players in a squad, so we can go together.
That's perfect.
I'm playing on PS5 as well, so I know it's the main machine for both of you guys. So Knockout City is basic. I don't know if when you guys grew up, did you watch a cartoon called the Rami al-Multahiba?
Doesn't sound familiar.
It's like
it sounds like my name, of course, but
Rami al-Multahib. It's an anime. It's a dodgeball anime, basically.
Wait, I might have seen that.
Yeah, like they have like they're wearing the shirt that has a fire on it, and the main character's a kid. His hair is on fire.
Yeah, I remember that.
This game is not as anime, unfortunately. Well, it's not by a Japanese developer, so I don't think that would have feel authentic anyway.
Right.
But it still has a lot of ridiculous fun. So it's you play in a squad. There's balls lying around. You grab the ball and you need to smack them in other people's face. That's the principle of it. People have a health bar that consists of 2 hits. You get hit twice, you get knocked out. You get knocked out a bunch of times, you lose the game mode. And it can be it's a team deathmatch of balls in the face. And like they have like a lot of these mechanics in which like a ball is thrown at you, but if you time there's another button to catch it, and if you time the catch correctly, then it supercharges the ball so that the next throw is faster. Which reminded me of a game you and I used to play, Rami, called Lethal League.
Yeah, Lethal League.
Lethal League, remember that? We played a bunch of that.
At an event on the show floor with 60 people watching. We're all supposed to be doing something more important.
We're supposed to do some work, but we had the break. But like Lethal League, like you can throw the ball and then you hit it, and if you hit it at the right time, it gains more speed, and then the more you lobby it, the faster and faster it goes. And this kind of has that. So there's a bunch of like smaller. So like the general mechanics of the game, they're easy to pick up. There's no like individual characters, and every character have their own special skills or whatnot. There's different types of balls. There's a ball that does an AoE effect. There's a ball that is a homing missile, and all of these things. So those kind of spice things up. But a lot of like the added depth of the game comes from like how you master the main skills, which is like, can you throw the ball when the character least expects it? Can you fake a throw and then catch it again? And can you do a spin and do a throw? Can you pass it to a teammate just about when you throw it? Or one of my personal favorites, can you turn yourself into a ball and then have one of your teammates throw you at an enemy, which would cause like an instant knockout. So there's a lot of added depth that comes from mastering the core mechanics, and a bunch of other depth that comes from knowing the stages. And the stages have like a bunch of, they remind me of Splatoon, in which like there's a lot of verticality, there's a bunch of like ups and downs, there's secret passageways, there's shortcuts, and there's stuff like that. So lots of fun. And I think that the next step is like Osama said, I just want to do it with friends. That's the next step from there.
Do the characters have different abilities, or it's more about, as you mentioned, like general skills and stage knowledge?
There's no different characters actually. You just make your own.
Ah, okay.
You just make your own and you customize it, and there's a lot of focus on like customization skills and stuff like that. So like there's a lot in the game about unlocking different jackets and different haircuts and no facial hair, unfortunately. So I could not make myself yet. I made a bald character, but I could not make a bald character with a beard just yet. But hopefully some more beard support will come to the game. So that's been a bunch of fun. I also watch a TV show on Netflix. It's a Netflix special called Bo Burnham's Inside. You guys seen this one?
Yeah, that was very good.
Really, really good. So
really good.
I mean, it's one of those things that I liked a lot, but I have a hard time recommending, just because it's like one of those things when you're laughing along and you go like, "Oh God, this is so dark."
Right. Yeah.
And like if you're not in the right state of mind, this could not be that entertaining. It's too much on the nose. I don't know if it's too soon or not, but I kind of enjoyed it. So like Bo Burnham started his career basically on YouTube as a stand-up comedian, and this Netflix special he directed, wrote, produced, wrote the music for, and filmed and edited, all completely in his home during the COVID pandemic, without any kind of crew or audience. It was just him in his living room, basically. And he's just like writing comedy and writing a lot of songs. Super catchy songs, by the way. So like there's a part of it in which he's depicting his deteriorating mental health. And like which is like kind of relatable for a lot of people that spent a long period of time at home during the pandemic. That's the part that makes it hard to recommend. But at the same time, a lot of his social commentary about like Instagram or video game streaming and stuff like that, they're just so on the money and funny that I kind of enjoyed. The songs are kind of catchy. They're like running on my Spotify now quite a bit. So
Is it like a Netflix special, or is it like a series of episodes? How
It's
long
a
are the
Netflix
episodes?
special. Like I said,
Okay.
he recorded the whole thing
Mm.
while he's at home. So it's a special, but it's also an album
Okay.
that you can find on Spotify. Pretty good stuff. Like I was
I
like, I saw him. He was.
I was impressed. It was genuinely like he touched on so much that was just it feels like a true like portrait of the period of time that we were in
That's
with
so true.
quarantine, and it's like it was poignant. It was genuinely. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a bunch of stuff in there where I got like, oh, we really have to go there, but like beyond that, like.
Hmm.
It felt very genuine. It felt very sincere. It felt very true. And even the parts that I didn't like, I appreciated for how true they probably are for a lot of people. So, yeah, you just kind of sit there somewhere between laughing and crying and
Yeah.
like feeling seen, right?
Yeah. It's he hits a lot of these topics right on the
Right,
nose,
right.
which I think is really solid.
I just can't look at any white woman's Instagram anymore.
Yeah, yeah, that song is very funny. Like,
Yeah.
white woman's Instagram is hilarious. Like he goes through the stuff of like photos doing this or that. I'm like, yep, I can recognize all
It's
of these things.
It's funny because there was a tweet like a year and a half, 2 years ago that was like, if you ever want to see the world without people, check a straight guy's Instagram. And I looked at my own Instagram, and it's so true. There's barely any humans in any of those photos. Where did humanity go, Rob?
Yeah.
I'm checking mine right now. Let me see.
Right,
Yeah, no people. There's a dog.
yeah. It was really shocking. But yeah, it turns out that Instagram sort of like homogenizes people. Who would have thought?
That's
Um,
hilarious.
but hey, yeah, no, what a great show.
I always found it fascinating, like how comedians are attracted to going to dark places. Because, like, I haven't watched the especially you guys are talking about, but you mentioned several times like you're not sure if it's too soon or the topics are like too dark. But like I always found comedians' brain is most probably made of something else. They're always like attracted to these like dark things, and they find the humor in them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna definitely watch that. It seems like it's sort of my sort of humor.
Yeah, I mean, like
Right.
there's some some serious topics that comedians touch on, and like they manage it in the same way because like there's another show on Netflix I really like called BoJack Horseman, which
Mm.
is fun, very funny show, but it also dabbles in like very dark subject matter. So
Right.
it's one of those that like I like it, but approach
Hey,
with
okay.
warning.
Question. I'm just watching the names pop up on the screen as we're talking. Fawzi, why do you type your last name with an E, and why does Feroz type it with a U? Like, what is happening?
Man, we get that so much. So that's the funniest thing. In the Middle East, almost all the paperwork is based on like your name in Arabic script.
Right.
So on official documents, when you file for like renewal or stuff like that, it's always in Arabic script.
Right.
So the dude that was doing that had our passports made, I think he just decided. So like all the passports, they will have the name in Arabic script, but then there's also the name in English. And for the name in
Right.
English, the dude there just wrote whatever he thought the spelling sounds like.
Right. Yeah. Fair. That happened to my dad as well. Actually, something like that.
Because like
Uh,
like the different dialect could pronounce the same thing differently. Because like
right.
our last name Musmar in some dialects could be pronounced Musmar or Mesmar.
Yeah.
They're all the same thing in Arabic, but different dialects pronounce it differently.
Right. Because and you two moved separately from each other, didn't you?
No. So that's the funny part is that by the time I realized that my last name is different than the rest of the family, I was like, gonna need to now change my university certificate, all of my school certificates. It's gonna be such a mess, and I'm not sure about how that people complain about bureaucracy in some countries in Europe. Uh, Bureaucracy in the Middle East is on a totally different level when it comes to paperwork.
It's a different level, and it's also it's less predictable.
Very less predictable.
Yeah.
I think like that guy in the government office accidentally started the new family tree. So now there's like the mishmash,
Right.
and Fawzi is the first generation in that
First
family.
of my name, basically. So like my last name is like none of my family at this point. But I was like, I'm not gonna go through the hassle of bureaucracy of changing it.
Right.
And I think I've always found it hilarious, like the amount of funny situations this creates, because people like don't really adjust to the difference in the last names. And if you're outside the Middle East, a lot of people are trying to be like culturally sensitive. They don't want to be racist because they see the last names are very similar, but they're not going to say, "Hey, are you guys brothers?" Right? Because that could like go really bad. Actually, the funniest one that we ran into, we were working together in I think that was back at Gameloft. And this keeps happening often. People don't realize that we're brothers, even though like we usually tell people, we send emails, whatever. But it just doesn't. A lot of people
sound
don't.
alike.
Yeah, that as well. So there was this guy that was like came over and he was telling me like, I didn't realize like you and Fawzi were brothers. And I was like, yeah, it's because we have a different last name. And he's like, yeah, I thought you guys were cousins. I was like, why? And he's like, it's because you guys have the same last name, but one letter is different. I was like, man, I don't think this is how cousins are supposed to
how
work.
last names work. The further away you are from people, the more your letters change. That's how it works.
Exactly, yeah.
It's transliteration that happened then. Like the people that tried to translate your name transliterated it differently, right? They tried to put the Arabic sounds into Latin letters and kind of didn't do it exactly right.
Pretty much because they were like, it all sounds the same, so might as well,
right? Mesmar, Musmar, same thing. What's the difference? No, when my dad moved to the Netherlands, he so his full name, his name is Ibrahim, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then his father's name was Mahmoud Hanafi, and then his father's name was Ismail, and then so on and so on and so on, right? So when he moved to the Netherlands, they just kind of looked at his name, and he had 6 names, and they looked at it and they went, "That's too much, sir. We can't put that on our passport." And then, this was decades ago. They didn't really have standardized last names much in Egypt, so they basically ended up just giving him a last name. They're like, "This one is your last name now." He's like, "What? It's okay, I guess." And that's how I ended up Ismail. But yeah, everything after that is off the passport as well. You can't print names after a last name in Europe. So, yeah.
But this is what
there's
something probably worth pointing out is that when you said so forth and so forth, for a lot of my friends who are not from the Middle East, they don't really understand, how my name works because. There's another Fawzi in my name, which is my grandfather's name.
Right.
So they're like, there's 2 Fawzis here. Which is your last name? What is your full name? We don't understand what's going on when they like look at my passport. Because Middle Eastern names, they're hereditary. So it's like, it's your first name, then it's your father's name, then it's your grandfather's name, then it's your family name. We call it like the 4-piece name or Ism al-Rubai in Arabic.
Yeah.
But we don't have the same concept of a middle name.
Right.
It's like when
they're all
outside of the Middle East
names.
look, I was like, "What? Your middle name is also Fawzi? What's going on?"
Yeah. No, those are just names, right? That's the weird thing. You're like, you'd be like Rami, and then if there's 2 Ramis, you'll find some way to distinguish the Ramis, right?
Yeah.
And if you really can't find anything, then you'll just go with the father's name, right? So I was usually just Rami the tall one or Rami the Dutch. Right,
Rami the Dutch. It's like you're a conqueror. It's like a conqueror. Rami the Dutch approached with his army.
To be fair, they usually went with Hollendi, which doesn't sound as conquering-ish. No. Sounds a bit like a discount store, right? Rami Hollendi. Oh yeah, you could buy some cheap goods at Rami Hollendi. Go. He always undercharges. He's a bad negotiator. Goes buy a Rami Hollendi, right?
That's how you get them.
Like. Yeah. 3 times the price.
The thing that I liked about having like the name Rubai, the forename thing, is like now whenever I have foreign paperwork in Sweden, my first name is basically the first three names, and my last name is Musmal. It's
Right.
just the last name. So it's really hilarious when you go to a clinic and then you're waiting on your line, and then the nurse comes out and they try to call your name. And they
Right.
see this basically this newspaper, like basically
Yeah.
the thing they had. I was like, and they try to. I feel really sorry for them because they're trying to be nice, they're trying to pronounce this properly, and I was like, oh no, they just butchered my first name, my dad's name, and my character's name. And I'm just like halfway through, I stand up, I was like, it's me, you can stop,
Yeah.
you can stop now.
Yeah.
Imagine
that
like
was-
how confused she would be if she was like, you know, the patient was like Egyptian. And like most,
Right.
like a lot of Egyptian names is Mahmoud, Ahmed, Muhammad, Mahmoud, or like Muhammad,
I mean-
Ahmed, Hamada, Mahmoud.
That's basically like I have Mahmoud and Hanafi and Mansour in the 7 names that I have, right?
Oh, wow.
Like just all of those, and it's just like, okay, good luck. Have fun with that. Most people just call me by my last name. To be honest, they look at the paperwork and they go like, Mr. Ismail, Ismail, and I'm like, yeah, that's me. And I wait until if there's other Arabs in the room, I wait to see if anybody stands up because they're actually called Ismail. But if I'm the only Arab in the room and somebody goes Ismail, it's just like, yeah, I guess that's me. But everything I own, the letters are like REMH Ismail, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. Do you get the same issue when people like try to pronounce your name properly, but then they add like extra letters? So like people say, okay, I want to pronounce your name for us properly. Say how it is, and I say for us, and they go Fihaq, and I was like, why did you add the extra? Where did that come from? And I find it hilarious.
It's usually because they can't pronounce a certain letter the way we're pronouncing it, and an extra sound comes out. I have that with Mahmoud, right? Because it's a ha, and the Western people just can't make that sound, so they go Mahmoud, and I'm like, where did the G come from? I literally just breathe it out air, Mahmoud. They're like Mahmoud. I'm like, no, stop This actually takes more effort to make the G sound than it takes to do the H sound. Do less effort. And I go, Mahmoud. I can't even do it. And they just like overstress the H. And I'm like, no, it's a soft H. And it's a mess. It's beautiful, but like extra sounds happen. My dad's name, Ibrahim, somehow got translated with an E at the start. So it's Ibrahim now, which is also weird because normally you go with Abraham or Ibrahim with an I, but like so basically just a cross transliteration. Ridiculous stuff happened. Getting people to pronounce my name has always been fun. This was actually a huge issue when I got the GDC award back in 2018. I won a Game Developers Choice Award, right? Ambassador Award was what it was called.
Sweet.
And I got an Iranian guy to introduce me, Poria Turkan. And Poria is an old friend of mine, worked at Guerrilla Games back in the Netherlands, and now he works at Bungie in the US, and he's just the loveliest human. And I asked him to introduce I asked him to introduce me, but his heritage obviously doesn't speak Arabic. He speaks Farsi, right? And they pronounce things a little differently. So he was going to introduce me, and we agreed we were going to be 2 brown people on the stage, which was already cool, right? The GDC stage. And it will be a brown person giving an award to a brown person. And we thought that was cool. And it will be a person with sort of our culture and heritage, even though, you know, Iranian culture and North African Arab culture, Middle Eastern culture, they're all distinct. I think there's still a sense of kinship somewhat between them. So we just thought all of that was really cool. And then we got to, okay, how do I introduce you? And I was like, just go Rami Ismail. And he's like, no, you have more names. Give me all your names. So I gave him all my names. And then my dad came to the award ceremony. And Poria was sitting next to my dad. And my dad's like, and Poria goes like, so I pronounce his name, Rami Ibrahim Mahmoud Hanafi Ismail Mansour Ali Frey. And my dad just looks at me and says, no, let me teach you how to say this. And they just sat there for like the 20 minutes before the award ceremony.
I mean, if his name is going to be read on stage, It's got to be read correctly.
His name, it's his name as well. After Rami, everything is also his name. And he's just like, no. If somebody's gonna say my name in America, I flew all the way to America. My dad is not a big fan of America. I flew all the way to America to sit in an American room with American people, and I'm gonna hear my name. I'm gonna hear it said properly.
I can imagine your dad directing him, like the guy saying, Rami Ismail, he's like, more intensity. More intensity.
No, they mostly got stuck on the H for Mahmoud. Right. And that's why I had to think of it. And when Puria was on stage saying my name, when he said Mahmoud, he actually looked at my dad. You can see it in the video. He's like looking at my dad going like, did I do it right? Can I go back to that table? Or did I go to a different table?
The poor guy.
Never seen the man that never. He's a very chill guy. He's a producer. He can make anything happen under any circumstance. He will do the thing and he will send you a message that just says produced. Right? He's that kind of person. But I've never seen this man sweat so much. He was nervous.
He just got encountered with an Arab father. That's a totally different level of horror. I imagine, like, you put the flip-flops on the table just in case he makes a mistake.
Mahmoud, and it's just from the other side of the room, you just see this slipper, just like...
Yeah, there's a ship sniping on the stage. You know what I like about Arabic names generally, though, is that not all so like there's a lot of names that come, from the Quran and religious names and whatnot, but there's a lot of names that also predate that are not biblical names. They're just names of stuff that come from the Arabic environment that are, still used till this days. Like some of these names are thousands of years old at this point. Some of them are easy to like Saif. Means sword. Osama means lion. Stuff like that, it's still a very common name, but it's like, a couple of thousand years old is still in use.
Right. Yeah. Rami is archer. Or somebody who throws far.
Yeah. My name is like the person who wins a lot, or Victor, as I would like to translate it.
There's a difference between Victor and like the person that doesn't give up at Monopoly.
How did you know? We never played Monopoly.
I mean, I can guess.
I was thinking, I think my name means it's the person that has foresight. Or it could also mean, obviously the majority of Arab names end up being a lion or a wildcat or something like that. But I'm going to stick with the foresight name, which is kind of cool. But what I discovered, though, is like once I teach people the meaning of my last name, so Musmar, the meaning of it is nail, obviously. You discover that the same level of intelligent jokes is universal. So when I was back in school, everyone would start like, if they want to tease you, they come to use my last name. Like, where's the shakush? Where's the hammer? All that sort of stuff. And you relocate to the other side of the world, and you're like, I'm never going to hear this joke ever again. I feel great. And then, like, one night out with your friends, and then you explain your last name. It's like, Musmar means nail. Where's the hammer? And I was like, I never got
First
that
time
joke.
I hear it in my life.
Yeah, the worst thing about Rami is two things. In the Western world, it sounds a bit like mommy, which means that whenever there's a kid yelling for a mom, I'm just like, what? Who needs me? Right? And like just instant stress just comes up.
There's always kids yelling for you. Mommy,
I'm like, what? Who's hurting? Which kid do I help? How do they know me?
But this could be like your equivalent of spider senses, basically. So like when a kid is actually in trouble, like they're drowning, it's like, mommy, and you just jump in and save them. That would be
right. It's just me. Would be a very strange Florida man.
It's one of the nicest, like, when Rami calls my name, it was like one of the few times, like I hear my name being pronounced correctly. In an event.
Fawzi.
Yeah, I was like, somebody pronounced it correctly. It's like, it's so nice for a change.
It's weird because Rami and Rami aren't that far apart, but you hear it instantly.
Yeah, Rami.
Right? The difference is so huge. You're just like, Rami, somebody said my name. Oh my God. But like people go, you meet people and they go like, so how do I say your name? I'm like, just Rami is fine. Right? And they're like, no, but how do I properly say it? I'm like, Rami. They're like, Okay, so Rami is fine, right? I'm like, yeah.
I remember like a guy that I used to work with wanted to learn how to say hello in Arabic, and I told him, you say marhaba. Marhaba is like, an unoffensive way to say hello, and he's like, okay, sure, I'll marhaba marhaba. He learned it. The next day, I'm sitting on my desk, I'm minding my business. The guy comes over, and he looks at me and he says, "Mehibbi." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Mehibbi." I was like, what do you mean? He's like, it means hello, right? Like, you told me this yesterday. I was like, yes, I did tell you this yesterday. It's marhaba, it's not maybe. This is now on, like, we have this chat with a group of people. We call it the Mehibbi chat. We just call each other Mehibbis all the time.
Firas gets, like, the funniest pronunciations of his name.
What do you get?
They range from Faraz to Ferris to for us. But it's never Faraz. It's interesting.
It's never Faraz. Is it ever Faris? Because that's a valid name as well.
Yeah, that's the part actually that's interesting. So all of the other weird pronunciations I don't mind. As soon as someone calls me Faris, I just step in and I say like, "Yep,
yeah,
you have to fix
that's
this."
Not it. This is a problem. This is not my name. I have a different name. It's the only other valid name. I get Ramzi. For Ramzi, I also step in. Right. If I get Ramzi, I'm like, no.
Anything but Ramzi.
Well, I like Ramzi. It's just and whenever people pronounce my name wrong, it usually means nothing.
Yeah, it's a mispronunciation, not another
it's a
name.
Mispronunciation. Yeah, it's not me. It's just not right.
Yeah.
Well, Ramzi is like, no, I'm not Ramzi. I also get Romney. I get offended at that one.
Yeah, Romney. Yeah, I don't think you would want
I mean,
that
I don't. Yeah, it's not even that I don't like Romneys. If there's any Romneys listening, I have no problem with you. It's just that's the wrong language and the wrong name. It's a little. I'm not okay. Like Ramzi, okay, that works in Arabic, but Romney, like, listen better. Like,
do you get people trying to sell you on the other name? Like, some people would call me Faris, and I would step in and fix it, and they'd say, what does Faris mean? I was like, it means the night, actually. And they were like, well, that's a better name. Why should I call you Faris? I was like, what?
This is the part where we have an argument. Well, you look like a Bob. It's just a better name. It's shorter, 3 letters. You only have to remember 2 letters. The first one and the last one are the same. It's easier.
I will remember this comeback next time.
Offense. It's perfect. No offense to anybody that's listening named Bob. Bob is also a great name, folks. Don't worry. But yeah, no. You want to? I know Osama would want to tell this story, but Fawzi, you think I guess he disconnected.
No, Osama just texted me. He said he's got some internet outage at his place. And we're too far into the recording to stop it. So,
I'll tell this story on behalf of Osama then.
Oh, I love this because he will listen. He will hear it, and he can do nothing about this.
So Osama told me a story once that when he would play games on the arcade, he would always have to type his name as ODD, as odd. He was very proud of that, and people would ask him why, and it's because his name is Osama Dorias, but his middle name is Dorias.
Oh. That's pretty cool.
So he's Osama Dorias, which I would love to know more of the story of how he ended up with 2 Doriases.
You're going to need to grill him in on this. At least I have a reason why there's 2 Fawzis in my name.
Right.
I'm named after my granddad, and my granddad passed away when my mom was pregnant with me, so it's custom.
Right. That's a custom.
Tradition. But like 2 Doriases there, that's a story.
That's a story, right? I don't know. Like I know when it comes to names, most that I know is that in my family they had sort of my grandma and grandfather on the Egyptian side. They kind of had a rule that all the guys' names would start with an A, and all the women's names would start with an S. And they kept to that, even though they had 12 children. At some point, I would go like, "This is too complicated."
That's very impressive, though. You'll run out of names eventually.
But I imagine if I'm having like 12 kids and I have a system. By the time I'm pregnant with the 12th kid, I'll be really nervous. Like, okay, what should I do? What if I can't find the name? That's tricky.
Right.
But I don't think...
Just sitting there with a dictionary. Just like, we've already used all of these.
As you would run out of names, we also run out of time. for this episode.
Well done, though. Well done. Beautiful transition.
See, those transitions, right? We don't have Osama here, so
just to really cheer it on.
Cheer it on. Firas, where can people find you if they want to follow you or something?
Sweet. So I've recently joined the world of Twitter. I think it's been 2 weeks.
We are very sorry.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
I think people have been lovely so far. So I'm going to maintain my innocence for now. I think everyone has been
just stay under 100 followers.
I jumped that gun already, which is kind of nice. I think people are cool. I don't know. Do people call it a handle? I'm saying my handle at fmusmar.
Yeah, your handle.
Sweet. So
Drop your handle, man.
Drop my
handle. Got F Musmar?
At fmusmar with a U, the proper way to write
with
Musmar.
A U. Right. Yeah. We're not doing this. We're not doing this nonsense here.
And I think that's where you can find me. There's obviously LinkedIn, the internet. If you're playing games online on mostly Battlefield these days, since we're working hard on shipping Battlefield 2042, I'm excited to see everyone on the battlefield. And most probably any other online game. I might be just there, either being killed or killing the person that I'm playing with. Depends on the game.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you everybody for joining us on this journey of a podcast. It's been over 6 months. Rami, can you believe that?
It's now the 25th episode.
Who would have thought?
Wow.
Yeah,
who would have thought?
Really, congratulations, guys! Like it's really good.
It's if you skip the 30 episodes we did for Ramadan, but if it's 25 main episodes of the Habibis. Thanks for everybody who just keeps tuning in and keeps listening, and is in the Discord and in on Twitter and sending us messages. It's been really cool to create this little home on the internet.
Yeah, join us on the Discord. It's discord.thehabibis.com, and send us emails at info@thehabibis.com. Tune in next week for more of the Habibis, straight to your podcasting application of choice. But for now, salam.
Salam.
Hey, Osama.
Salam, ya Rami.
What happened?
So, y'all didn't notice, but not right away at least, but at some point I lost power, and everything went black. So I scrambled to try to get back online, and the first thing I could think of was to come back on my phone. But that came with a challenge too, because my phone's we have the same phone, but my phone's microphone isn't that great. And then my kids emerged from their rooms and made a lot of noise just as the power came back. And it was a mess.
Well, I managed to tell the story about your name.
Oh, like Osama Doria Storias?
Osama Doria. Yeah, I managed to tell. I don't know if I did it justice, but
that is a good story. I honestly, I love telling the story. So how it starts,